Starting.
Okay, good. So first of all, I want to thank Rabbi Joshua Flug that I accessed his sheer outline to bring all of the sources that I brought. I also want to not mention on tape, but thank the member of the security team who is here. And don't worry, the answer is yes. Okay, security cameras can be used on Shabbos, but let's get an understanding in what is going into this decision. What are the factors? And let's understand the background. And this actually is a beautiful and classic example of what we call Torat Chaim. Torat Chaim is translated many different ways, but it is a living Torah. A living Torah meaning that obviously there were no security cameras in the time of the Babylonian Talmudic schools. And there probably was a need for them, but there weren't any security cameras that rose issues on Shabbos. But our living Torah gives us the different principles, and those principles are timeless. And we take the timeless principles of the Torah and of the Talmud, and we apply that to the ever-changing world in which we live in. And therefore, that's what allows us to be, as we call it, Shomer Torah Mitzvot, Torah mitzvah observant, even in this constantly changing, more sophisticated, more technologically advanced world. So the question is, now for security purposes, many shuls have security cameras that are recording all that goes on all around on the campus, inside, and this is a necessary precaution that we take. At the same time, we know that we don't take pictures on Shabbos. We won't get filmed on Shabbos. Right? As much as someone keeps saying, Rabbi, we really have to tape your Shabbos drushes, they're so good, but we can't. What can we do? Right? We can't tape them. So then why is it that many Orthodox synagogues, ours included, have security cameras set up, and all those who are careful to walk to shul on Shabbat and walk home after shul on Shabbat are nevertheless engaged in being filmed throughout a good portion of Shabbat. So let's go to the very beginning. The very beginning is the Gemara, the Talmud Bavli, Beitza 23b, and you have that in your source sheet, both in Hebrew and in English. And the issue over here is what's called the davar she'eno mitkavein, a matter that I do not intend. And we'll see it is a debate between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. The Gemara says, Rabbi Judah, who says, Yehuda says, davar she'en mitkavein asur. Even though that was not your intention, it is prohibited. In other words, when we come to shul on Shabbos, is it our intention to be filmed? Is that what we're coming for? Certainly not. It is a davar she'eno mitkavein. We have no intention to be filmed when we come to shul. It might be happening, but that has nothing to do with why we come to shul. That's not why we're here. That is beyond our intent. Rabbi Yehuda says, so what? If it's happening, it is prohibited. De'i Rabbi Shimon, whereas according to Rabbi Shimon ha'amar, he is of the opinion, davar she'ein mitkavein mutar. He says if that's not what your intent was, then it is permitted. Where's their classic argument? As we learned, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Gorer Adam Mita Kisei V'Safsal. Right? A person can drag a heavy bed, a heavy seat, a heavy bench across your earthen yard. Now, when you're dragging this heavy bench across, chances are, what might happen? What will happen? You're digging in. You're plowing. You're making a beautiful furrow. The result is a plowed garden. Perfect for you now to toss in your seeds. Is that your intention? Of course not. Right? So he says it's allowed. According to Rabbi Shimon, it's allowed. Right? As long as your intention is not to plow the garden. So it's a dava she'ein mitkavein, it's something that you're not interested, you don't want it to happen, then it is allowed. Ema seva Yehuda, however, says, Ein hakol nigran b'Shabbat. No, the only thing you could drag on Shabbos is chutz min ha'agala. The only thing that you could drag would be a wagon. Why? Mipnei shehi choveshet. Because that presses the earth down as opposed to turning it up, as opposed to plowing it up. Okay, so at first glance it would seem to be that our question of being filmed by security cameras on Shabbos is a classic debate in the Talmud under the category of a davar she'eino mitkavein, something that it's not your intent. Is, according to Rabbi Shimon, it's allowed. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it is prohibited. How do we rule? So let's look at the Rambam, next source, Laws of Shabbat, chapter 1, halacha 5 and halacha 6. And let's see halacha 5 first. Both would have it in Hebrew and in English. Oh. Okay, I copied it wrong. Okay, so the Rambam, you'll trust me, rules like Rabbi Shimon. He rules like Rabbi Shimon, meaning that something that you didn't intend to do, it's allowed. And therefore, right, you got a cheap sandwich today. It's all over. It's all finished, right? It's allowed. But it's never quite that simple.
What if it looks bad?
Right? Oh no, we're good. Let's see. Dvarim hamutarim, things that are permitted. La'asotan b'Shabbat, to do them on Shabbat. Ubishat asiyatan, and when you're doing them, efshar sheteaseh b'gol hamalacha, ve'efshar shelo teaseh. It's possible that a malacha will happen. It will happen. It's possible it will not. Right? For example, what we'll soon see, as long as your intention is not to do that malacha, harei zeh mutar, it's permitted. Ketzad, how? Go where adam mita v'kisei v'safsal. A person can drag a bed, a seat, a bench, v'chayotzim b'Shabbat, or some similar such things on Shabbat, as long as your intent is not to dig a furrow in the ground when you are dragging them. And if a furrow was dug into the ground, no concern. Why? Because that was not what your intent was. Except he put in a very important couple of words here. What did he say? It's possible it will happen. It's possible it won't happen. Now, when we're walking around on Shabbos, is it possible that we'll be filmed and possibly won't be filmed? Or are the cameras recording and we are being filmed? Let's go a little bit further. Aval aseh ma'aseh, number 6. The person did an act. The nasit biglo malacha. And malacha resulted from my act. Malacha is the constructive acts that are creative acts that are done on Shabbat, right? In other words, as we mentioned before, the prohibition of Shabbat is not work, right? It's a lot less work for me to drive to shul than it is for me to walk a mile, right? We're talking about work. It's a lot less work to do. It's not much work turning on a light switch, right? But the issue on Shabbat is that the way that we do our belief in God as a creator, because in Judaism we don't just believe. There's no I believe. There's we do our beliefs. How do we do our belief in God as a creator? We engage in creative activity for 6 days. Comes the 7th day, we don't engage in creative activity. Therefore, writing is creative activity. It's not very exertive. Right? It's not work, but it's creative activity. Turning on that light switch is bringing about a change in the lighting here. Right? I'm igniting or completing that circuit, however you want to view it. Right? So, if I did an act, and this malacha, this creative, right, plowing is creative. I've changed the format of this field now to enable it for growth. So if that malacha vadai teaseh b'shil oto maaseh, if that's definitely going to happen, afal pishlo nitkavein la, even though I didn't intend for it to happen, chayav. In other words, that's considered to be part and parcel of my act. Now, I can't say I didn't intend to do it if that's automatically going to happen. It's known that it's impossible for that to not happen. Ketzad, for example, the classic example, this is well before Lego was in vogue. Sorry, a little gory. But, well before Lego, as I said, you needed a bird's head for your child to have something to play with. V'chatach rosha b'Shabbat. So what you do? You removed that, you cut off the head of the bird on Shabbos. On Shabbos. I have no intent to kill the bird. I have no intent to kill the bird. I just want my kid to have something to play with. And he can only play with the head of the bird when it's no longer attached to the body. Right? Chayav. So then now we're not allowed to take a life on Shabbos. So I'm liable. Because you can't take off the animal's head without taking the life of the animal. But death came about as a result, as an automatic, inevitable result of your action. That in halachic terms is called a psik resha. Literally, psik, you severed resha, the head. So when it is a psik resha, right, again, literally severing of the head, but we'll call it, when it is a, albeit unintended, but automatic, inevitable result, then even Rabbi Shimon says that the fact that you didn't have intent doesn't help. So therefore, we might say that this, since being filmed by the security cameras on Shabbos is an automatic, inevitable result of my walking into the building, walking onto the property. So therefore, even according to Rabbi Shimon, who allows something that you didn't intend, but in the case of a psik resha, an automatic, inevitable result, he doesn't allow it. So why then is it allowed?
Rabbi,
Yes.
Going back just a bit, dragging the bed on the ground and making furrows. But then what if somebody looks at them and says, ooh, that would be good for me to plant something in?
Ex post facto is not going to be an issue. Mm-hmm. Even if I say, oh, guess what? On Sunday I'm going to plant those flowers that Nally's been asking me to plant. What a perfect time, right? It's okay. As long as it wasn't such a heavy bench and such a soft yard that my dragging it would be considered a psik resha, an automatic inevitable consequence. Yes?
I want to understand the cameras. Does our being there cause the camera to work? Or does it work all the time and our being there is just...
I think it's working all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't
Like it's not
cause-
motion activated?
No. No. Right? Right? So you want to say that's less of an issue, Linda?
Yes. It would be
Right?
more of a specific issue if
Okay.
we caused the camera to work.
Yes, but keep in mind, if we had a microphone running the whole time, right, nevertheless for me to go and give my drasha over the microphone would not be allowed, right? There's a microphone running the whole time, it's being recorded, but I can't go there and involve myself in it.
You can't go there, but you can speak in the room and still be recorded.
Yeah, well, or for all the same, well, if I know it's being recorded, then maybe, for the same reason, I should not speak over there. I don't want to be recorded on Shabbos. Right? I'm causing this electrical recording to go into effect, this recoding of the, however it works, of the data to record my voice and my words. But you're making a good point that it's less of an issue when it's running full time. There's another factor, and that Steve just touched upon. There is something that is nichali, that I want it to happen, and there is something that is lo nichali. I don't want it to happen. Okay? So therefore, we can argue there's another level here. So there's, the first level is, davar mitkavein or not, was there intention? There was an intention. Okay, according to Rav Shimon, that's allowed. But next level, it's a psik ratio, but it's an automatic consequence, inevitable consequence. Right? So therefore, what would we say? So we'd say if there's an automatic consequence, you can't say I didn't intend for it to happen, because it's going to happen. It's automatic. It's going to happen. So therefore you might argue that it is as if I wanted it to happen, unless I specifically don't want it to happen. I much prefer it not happen. Right? I mean, if I'm dragging this bench, and it's definitely going to make a furrow, which means Sunday, instead of watching the football game, I'm going to have to be out there filling in this trench in my backyard and replanting whatever I tore up. So the argument could be made, if it's a psik reisha, delo nechale, that you don't want it to happen, there are those that say then it's allowed. Because again, I didn't have intent. Well, you did have intent, it's going to happen. Well, no, you can't ascribe intent to me if I specifically don't want it to happen.
Sure you can. If you know it's inevitable, regardless of whether you want it to happen or not, you know that it's going to happen.
I know it's going to happen, but on Shabbos, I'm liable for that which I'm liable for, it's called melechet machshevet. There needs to be a thoughtful, right? So I can't say I didn't know it's going to happen automatically. But I can't be held accountable for that which will happen automatically if I don't want it to happen. That's what some say. And others hold like you. That whether it's nichale or not is irrelevant. If it's going to happen, then that is a malacha. So the Shulchan Aruch, now over here we could say, no one has any want to film all the regular shul goers. Right? It's not like, oh, I can see who came to shul and who didn't. When I'm away, I know who comes to shul. Don't think Rabbi's away for a week and you're off. Right? Right? No one has any intent to film the shul goers. The whole intent is, if there will be any untoward action happening here, we want to be able to know exactly who, what, where, and how. So therefore, this is a psik reisha, de lo nechale, that we don't want it. There's nothing gained by anyone by our being filmed. And like we said, that there are two opinions there. So if we'll hold that a psik reisha de lo nechale is allowed, then we're good again. Right? Because I didn't want, but it's inevitable, but I'm not interested. I didn't intend, but it's inevitable, but I don't want it to happen. But the Shulchan Aruch rules an interesting case. That's the top of the second side. I only have that in Hebrew, not English. I apologize, but I'll translate from here on in. Chavit. You had a barrel. Shepakakov b'pakak shel pishtan listom nekev shebedofna. There's a very primitive sort of spout. It's not really a spout. It's a hole. And what do? You take a piece of cloth and you plug up that hole when you don't want the wine to be coming out. Shemotzim ba'yayin yesh mi shematir lahasiro. Now, when I remove it, I've got to squeeze it in order to remove it. Oh, when I squeeze it, what's happening? I'm squeezing wine out. That's schita. That's one of the processes of Shabbos called dash, removing the liquid or from it. So I'm not allowed to do that. There's some who say you are allowed to do it. Why? Aval pi she'efshar shelo yischot, even though it's a psik reisha, there's no way to take it out without squeezing it and thereby squeezing out some of the liquid. V'hu shelo yetachtav kli, as long as there's nothing underneath it to catch any of those drops. Why? Why does some allow it? I'm not gaining anything from this squeezing out. Oh, so what is it? It's a psik reisha. It's an automatic consequence that I don't want, that I have no benefit from. Umutar, and it's allowed. That's what some say. V'cholko Allah, but there are those that argue. V'amrun, they say, the afal gav lo nechale, even though you don't want it, like Rob said, came with the psik reishahu asur. Since it is this automatic consequence, it is prohibited. So we're still stuck at this point. Because again, it's not my intent, according to Rabbi Shimon that's allowed, but it's a psik reisha, automatic consequence, therefore it's prohibited. Yet it's lo nichale, I don't want that. Nevertheless, Shulchan Aruch rules, even though it's lo nichale, if it's automatic, unintended consequence, inevitable consequence, it's still prohibited. Let's throw in some other mitigating factors now. What is the level of the prohibition of being recorded on Shabbos? Is it a Torah prohibition? Is it a rabbinic prohibition? Right? My movement is causing this recoding of bits and bytes on this digital recorder.
No. We already decided as a given that it's not a motion-sensitive camera. So your motion is not causing any digital bits.
Well,
it would be shooting the background even if you weren't walking in the foreground.
It's shooting either way, but my movement is causing the bits to be rearranged differently, that my panim is over there instead of the blank wall that was there before I moved over there. Right? There is no Torah prohibitions taking place over here. What we have are a rabbinic, well, it's somewhat like writing, right? Somewhat like kotev, right? All we have here is rabbinic. Huh. Now, there are those opinions, Rabbi Yitzchak Elchanan Spector, right? She'ela, psik reisha lo nechale bidrabanan ishari ilo. A psik reisha, an inevitable, automatic consequence that you don't want to happen. If the whole malacha, meaning had I Had I come to shul that morning and said, "Hi everybody, here I am on the security camera. Welcome everybody. It's now Saturday morning, 9 o'clock in Beth Jacob," right? The whole issue would have been a rabbinic issue. So now we're adding in, it's a psik reisha that I don't want, and the whole issue over here is a rabbinic issue. So Rav Spector declares, Ishari Olo, is it permitted or not? Teshuva Be'ezrat Hashem, Hamagin Avram, Hevi B'Shem, Atrumas Hadeshen, to spherulate of Psik Reish B'Rabbanan Lo Gazru, Hu Cholek Alav. Actually, the Trumas Hadeshen allows it. The Magen Avram argues with him. Ube'ezrat Hashem, Amimal Nira Divrei Miyakum, Hayotze Lanu. He concludes, our conclusion is that we rule with the Trumat Hadeshen, and therefore one can be lenient when it's a rabbinic, when the whole issue is a rabbinic law, and it's a psik reisha, delo nechale. It's a psik reisha that you didn't want it to happen. That's one mitigating factor. When it's rabbinic, the whole issue is rabbinic, and it's a psik reisha delo nichale. There's another mitigating factor, and that is the Talmud Yerushalmi. We discussed the Talmud. We're normally discussing the Babylonian Talmud. That's what people normally study. That was edited much more clearly than the Jerusalem Talmud, the Yerushalmi. But the Yerushalmi is also learned, and there it says something very interesting. Rabbi Yossi Bei Rav Bon B'Shem Rav China Haya Tzvi Ratz Kedarko. Now not to trap an animal on Shabbat. If there's a deer that is running in its normal fashion, and it goes into your house, now you're not allowed to close the door in order to trap the animal. You can't trap the animal. But let's say Nitkavin Lin Ol Ba'ado V'nal ba'ado u'ba'ad hatzvi mutar. But I'm closing the door because I don't want to keep the door of my house open. And I'm thereby trapping the animal. So my intent is not specifically to trap the animal. I want to close my door. I don't care, right? We don't live in a barn, do we? Close the door, son. My father used to say to me, right? You don't leave the door open, you close the door. So there, I'm doing what I do. I'm living my life normally. I walk into my house. What do I do after I walk into my house? I close my door. Therefore, if a malacha is happening, along with that, there is, the Rashba to the left of there says, Dekevan shu tzorech beito, since I'm doing this for the needs of my house, afal pi she'ayidei kach nitzor hatzvi, even though as a result of this, what's happening is the deer is being caught, memela, mutar, it's allowed. As long as my intent is not just to catch the deer, but that's what I do, it's allowed. Now let's take this a little bit further. We have two modern day Rabbanim, right, who spoke on this issue of cameras. And we have Rav Zalman Nehemiah Goldberg. And he says over here, just we go back a little bit. Near the arrow. Shebinidon didan, in our case, ein kamelechet machshevet. There is no malach over here. Sha'ad kan lo ka'amar malach machshevet elek shekach hayat hi derech osam malacha la sod ba'ofen kazeh. Sheyoter kal yoter tov litchon kach. Right. In other words, the way to remove the head of the bird, so your child is going to play with, is by removing the head of the bird, right? That's what you're doing. Your intent is to remove the head of the bird. That's going to kill the bird. That's not allowed. Aval melechet silum, when it comes to photography, bevadei ein derech hamitztalem litztalem b'tzura kazot. No photographer does his photograph shiafim mechonet silum, right? That he's got it running, and people are walking this way, walking that way. That doesn't give you good pictures. Right? A photographer will tell you, I'll stand there, I'll turn to the left, I'll tuck in your shirt, take your hands out of your pocket, right? No, your shirt's creased, right? Smile that way, everyone this way, move over there, right? Karov, a little closer, no, a little further. Karov or rachok. Right? There's no malach that's being done over here. We're not photographing. That's not what we're doing. That they were doing this in order to discourage any mechablim, modern Hebrew, anybody? Terrorists, right? He's in Israel. That's not going to be done, that will not turn it into melechet machshevet. So no one has any intent of being on this camera. And Ratzi Kushelevsky takes it a step further in a very nice way. Ratzi Kushelevsky, I had the privilege of learning in his yeshiva for a number of years before I started teaching full-time. That was in the 1980s. Before I started teaching full-time, I studied at Ratzi Kushelevsky's yeshiva. He says, Nami, im over mul hamatzlema. If you go in front of that camera, ein ma'asav mugdarim k'psik reisha. It's not a psik reisha. Why? Darehu osek b'halicha. What am I doing? What am I intending to do? What am I doing? I'm walking. Now, when, in the case of the classic psik reisha, what am I intending to do? Take off the head of the birds my child's like to play with. Oh, your intent is to take off the head of the bird, and that's going to lead to the death of the bird. That is prohibited. Here, what am I intending to do? To walk to my seat. Now, you can't remove the head of the bird for your kid without killing the bird. Can I walk to my seat in shul without being filmed? Of course I can. There's no inherent connection between walking to my seat and being filmed. I can't remove the head without killing the bird. That is a psik reisha. Can I walk to my seat without being filmed? Right? You know, I'm not Prince Charles over here, right? There's no paparazzi that wherever I go I'm being filmed. I can walk anywhere without being filmed. So it happens to be that I'm being filmed. That's not a psik reisha. If there's no camera there, that's not considered to be a psik reisha. Therefore, people who attend shul have no interest whatsoever in being videoed on Shabbos. Right? No interest whatsoever. So it's a davar she'ein mitkaven. It's a psik, right? Not my intent. It's a psik reisha that's lo nichali, that I don't want it to happen. I'm completing a circuit, I'm rearranging bits and bytes. It is Rabbanan. There's room for leniency. Okay. And according to Rav Zalman Nechemia, Rav Kushelevsky also, right? Like that Rashba, I'm just walking. That's all I'm doing. And, like Tzvi said, there's no inherent correlation between walking and being filmed. There's a 100% correlation. Removing the head of the bird dies. There's no such correlation. I'm walking to the shul, in the shul, and I'm being filmed. Therefore, the issue of a psik reisha is not going to be applied over here. And Rabbi Flug writes also that in a conversation with Rabbi Willig is one of the Rashi yeshivas at Yeshiva University, right, that if there is a security need, which is the only reason why we have any filming going on, then that adds another factor called shat hadchak. Right? Shat hadchak means extenuating circumstances. Right? Once Mashiach comes, then no longer extenuating circumstances, then we're not going to be having security cameras going in our shuls. Until then, it is what's called shas hadchak. It's not sakanat nefashot. It's not life and death, right? It could be life and death, but anything could be life and death, right? So actually, I saw nicely. When do we call something? Oh, it's pikuach nefesh. It's saving a life. Well, if because of that on a weekday you would cancel your plans, right? Meaning, if chas v'shalom, not here, somewhere, there was a threat level that was so high that on a weekday you wouldn't go to shul, if that's the case that we're talking about, then we could start to talk about pikuach nefesh and allow, right? If the danger level is that high. That's not what we're talking about. Baruch Hashem, nowhere near that. But we are talking about shat hadchak, that this is extenuating circumstances that we have these security needs. So therefore, when we add up a psik reisha de lo nechale, that we don't want it to happen, and it is midrabanan, it's only a rabbinic issue at worst, and we have the factor that we're not doing it for that, and it is not inherently connected to that. There's no inherent connection between walking to your seat and being photographed. And it is a shas hadchak, and it is an extenuating circumstance that we're living, that we need to have, sadly, that we need to have all of these security precautions. Right? Precaution is a very important term. Right? We're not talking about pikuach nefesh, but it's a precaution. Right? That is why it is allowed for us to have these cameras going, right? Most of us don't even know where they are. Most of us don't care to know where they are. And we just come to shul as we should, and daven as we should, and we should all be safe and sound. And we express our appreciation to those who devote so much of their time and energy and resources towards the security here at the shul.
I could picture the more machmir among us, if it's a rotating camera kind of thing, if you can see that, it's scanning, that they would wait until it goes past, and then they'd run in and sit down so they wouldn't be there.
Okay. You know, it's interesting. There are a lot of such halachas. You know, when it comes to opening a refrigerator on Shabbos, putting aside the light issue, right? You can't have the light going on, that's an automatic thing. But there were those who originally, and to this day there are those who will only open their refrigerator door when the compressor is going. Right? Because that way they're opening the door is not going to activate the compressor, it's already going. Normative halacha, I would say, allows one to open their refrigerator regardless. Why? Because it's not such a correlation. It's not that when you open your refrigerator, the compressor goes on. It might go on, it might not go on, it might go on soon, might not go on at all. Therefore, it's not this anywhere near psik reisha. However, if one's oven is on Shabbos, the moment you open the door, what happens immediately? The fire. Right? It fires up. You open the door to your oven, it immediately fires up. That is, right, automatic. Yeah, so if you know, my walking around would cause the camera to say, oh, there's Ciner, right, and it would be following me around, right, that would be more of an issue, but nevertheless, it's a psik reisha, lo nichali, it's not inherently connected, it's rabbanan, right, on and on and on, it's shas hadchak, right, don't get any ideas. But it would probably still be allowed. Okay, my friends, we'll call it over here. Thank you, Dove, for the filming of this.
And thank you, Rabbi.
It's in camera.